Hey there, Doodle lover. Are you ready to finally feel proud of your Doodle's behavior? Not just their adorable face? Then don't miss my free 10-day Doodle Parent Challenge starting September 5th. It's the training reset you've been craving. Live, science-backed, and built just for Doodle parents like you. Head to thedoodlepro.com/parent challenge to save your free spot now. That's thedoodlepro.com/parent challenge. I'll see you inside. Today's episode is all about small dogs. If your dog is 30 pounds or smaller, this episode is for you. You might have a puppy that's only temporarily that size. All of the information in this podcast is going to help you. And if you're looking for a dog and considering if a small dog is right for you, this is your episode as well. Today, we're going to be interviewing Tess Morgan, the owner of Treat Yourself Dog Training in Vancouver, British Columbia. You might also find her running the Positive Training for Small Dogs group on Facebook. It's a supportive group for people who love their small dogs. This is a fun episode that's going to make you think of things you never did before about the tiniest of our friends. Doodle breed dogs are easy to love, but can be challenging to parent. I'm Doodle expert Corinne Gearhart, also known as the Doodle Pro, and I'm here to help Doodle parents have a more fulfilling and rewarding experience with their Doodles. No one has professionally worked with as many different Doodle breeds or has more experience with Doodles than I have. And I love to share my expertise in a fun, compassionate, and non-judgmental way. From my years of work and education in the pet care and dog training industry, I have an incredible network of skilled training, grooming, and veterinary professionals to share their knowledge with you and give you the Doodle-specific answers you're looking for. I hope you enjoy today's episode as I help you parent your Doodle like a pro. Congratulations to 1-year-old F1B mini Bernedoodle, Mia, for winning Doodle of the Week. Your mom, Erica, loves you so much and is happy to tell the world why you are so deserving.
Hi, I'm Erica from Indianapolis, and my Doodle's name is Mia. She is a mini Bernedoodle, and the quirkiest thing that our little girl does is self-soothing every time she wants to go to bed for the night or take a nap. She will literally run and grab her favorite stuffy, whatever it may be at the time. Right now, it is a gigantic lamb chop. And she will go put that in her mouth and start pulsing with her front paws on it, imitating what puppies will often do during nursing, and will almost instantly fall asleep with whatever stuffed animal she may have grabbed in her mouth. She started doing this almost immediately after we got her, and she is 14 months now, and she still does this every single day. We love our sweet Snugglebug to pieces, who is the absolute happiest when all her humans are all home around her and she can see everybody. So thanks for the opportunity to highlight Mia. We sure love her.
If you think your Doodle deserves to win Doodle of the Week, send me a quick voice message at thedoodlepro.com/Doodle of the Week. I'm so happy to have our guest join us today. From Canada, Tess Morgan. Tess is a certified trainer and counselor through the Academy for Dog Trainers, also known as the Harvard for Dog Trainers, a certified separation anxiety professional trainer, a licensed family pause parent educator, and a certified Control Unleashed instructor. Tess is passionate about using the most progressive and evidence-based methods to train dogs and prides herself in offering effective, integrated, and non-judgmental support to the families she works with. Tess is also a mom to 2 small dogs, Lily and Alvin, and has a special interest in helping small dog families reach their training goals while improving welfare for small dogs. Tess, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk about small dogs today.
We are thrilled to have you. And we were talking before we got started. You also have a toddler at home.
I do. His name's Theo. He's 18 months old. So a lot of management with him and the dogs for sure.
Thank you. So, for our pet parents, when you say a lot of management, can you explain a little what you mean?
Sure. So in training lingo, management would be anything we do to prevent the practice of problematic behaviors or bad situations from happening. So with toddlers and dogs, that's a lot of baby gates, a lot of active supervision, and just basically setting everyone up for success so that we don't have that toddler with no impulse control approaching the dogs while they're eating or that kind of stuff. So just keeping a really hands-on approach and then separating them when we're not able to do that.
And you'll get there. Your toddler's developmentally going to get there. Your dog's going to learn to be comfortable. Like, it's possible. Yes. But it takes being proactive, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yes. I have a friend of mine who wanted to get a tiny dog. She picked a Yorkie poo because her daughter's tiny. Have you heard that before? My kids are little, so I want them to have a little dog.
I've heard about getting a puppy, like growing up together, but I haven't heard the little dog with little
I hear
kids.
the want to raise them together so they grow up as best friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And her idea was, when the puppy comes home, my little 8-year-old daughter wants to have a party with her girlfriends over and they could pass the puppy around.
Oh my gosh.
What are your thoughts for her? I have my own. I want to hear yours.
I think there's good intention there, right? Because socializing that puppy to kids and body handling and all that stuff is amazing. And that just means we want the dog to be used to kids if they're going to be living with kids and around kids and used to being touched. That being said, socialization is a positive experience, right? It's not just exposure to kids and just exposure to body handling. And so my fear with that would be, is that going to be a good experience for the puppy, or is that going to be a bit overwhelming? And with a smaller dog, we also think about potentially dropping or picking up and handling in a way that's not going to be comfortable for the dog.
Yes. And you're right. Socialization isn't just frequency or exposure. It could take one bad experience.
And they're so sensitive at that age, right?
Yes. Excellent. All right. We're on the same page for our conversation that I have with my dear friend. So, what is different about training or living with small dogs versus big dogs?
I think there's so much that is the same in that they all learn the same, right? All dogs learn the same. I think there's a lot of rhetoric out there saying that different breeds need different training, and that's not necessarily true. What I do think is different is our mechanics. And what I mean by mechanics is the actual physical situation we're putting the dog in when we're training. So if I have a big dog that's right at my hip, it's a lot easier to, for instance, deliver a treat really effectively and really quickly because their mouth is right there. Whereas with a little dog, we're thinking about, how can we not be bending over constantly? How can we save our back? And then also, how can we deliver treats in an effective way where we're not saying yes and marking the behavior and then trying to get the treat to them in time? So I think with little dogs, we're doing a lot more treat tossing and treat catches, and just have to be a bit more creative about reinforcement with little dogs. So that's a big one for sure.
Yes.
And the second thing I would say for training is watching our posture. Are we looming over? Are we standing? Just because think about how little that dog is compared to us, especially if you're a tall person, just looming over them, that can be pretty threatening. And I think it's easy to forget that. So starting from like a kneeling position or a seated position even would be a great first step with a little dog. And then also just watching how we're handling them. I know when I first got my little dog, it was a Chihuahua mix, it's so easy to pull the leash a little bit too hard, which might be like nothing for a big dog. But if we're accidentally pulling the leash a little bit too hard, you could be knocking that dog off their feet.
Yes.
So really being careful about remembering how small that dog is and how much they weigh in comparison to you, and making sure that training is comfortable and not scary for them.
It's really easy to do when you have a 70-pound dog and they stop to pee or pull on a leash, or just to get a sniff, like you notice.
Yeah.
And when you have a 12-pound dog and they stop to pee, When I used to own my dog walking company, I'd have to coach my walkers. You have to be in tune because you might keep walking. And that poor little thing is trying to dribble along. It is being pulled along.
Yeah. It's really easy to
Being in
yank
tune.
them for sure.
Accidentally,
Yeah.
not out of anger or trying to
Yeah.
use force, but you just
Exactly.
kept going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yes. Another thing I notice with a lot of our clients, when you have a 50, 60-pound dog and you need them to go potty or it's time to go to bed or time to kennel up, you ask them to do it or
Mhm.
tell them to do it and you lead them there. And
Mhm.
when you have an 8-pound dog, there's a
Yeah.
lot of scooping up and taking. And how
Yes.
does that affect behavior for the dog?
I think a lot of people assume that because their dog doesn't necessarily growl or bite, if they don't, that they're fine with it. And I
Yep.
think a lot of little dogs get used to it and tolerate it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it is comfortable for them or that they're experiencing good welfare in their life if they're constantly being moved around. If you just think about yourself, right? Would you want to be picked up and put somewhere else? Or would you want someone to take a couple extra seconds and just be patient with you and teach you some behaviors so you can help move on your own versus being scooped up? There's also a startle element. Like I think a lot of people, one thing I love to teach people is some kind of cue to warn your dog that they're going to be picked up. If you are
Yeah.
going to pick up, right, is what I say with my dog. And it's just because imagine how startling it would be to not know you're going to be picked up and then just suddenly be scooped into the air. So I think we could definitely do more with small dogs to teach them ways to move, like a hand target, little things like that they're moving through space voluntarily. And we're
Yes.
picking them up as much as possible. And then when we do pick them up, we're warning them.
Sit and stay right there. We'll be back right after this quick break. Hey, quick break, because I've got something just for you. If life with your doodle feels more chaotic than calm, you're not alone. But you don't have to do it alone either. I created the Doodle Parent Challenge to help you go from frustrated and confused to confident and connected in just 10 days. No force, no fear, just science-based tools that actually work for doodles. It's free. It starts September 5th, and I'll be there guiding you live. Head to thedoodlepro.com/parent challenge and grab your spot now. Let's make calm feel possible again. And to me, that counts for when all dogs are puppies as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So that 70-pound dog started a lot smaller. During that phase, the same rules apply.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And especially in that puppy phase, we really want to make sure they're having good experiences. So with the small, but with any dog, but especially when I used to teach puppy classes, I would always tell, especially the people with the little puppies that were going to be small breed dogs, like your dog is probably going to be picked up more in their life, obviously, than a bigger dog. And so to work on that proactively and help them get comfortable with being picked up is going to pay off long term for sure.
So I have a 18-pound dog. So I'm in your niche here.
Yeah.
And I treat him as if he's one of the big dogs. He prefers it. That is his default. And he would prefer giving consent and me saying, let's go, and going on his own little paws than me scooping him up. But I defer to him walking on his own than me carrying him. If you have a little dog, is there a preference for them as to how they should get around?
I think it depends on the dog. So
Yeah.
good examples. I have two smaller dogs. One's very small, she's 12 pounds, and the other one is closer to 25. The 25-pound dog does not enjoy being picked up, really doesn't like it. I
Yeah.
could potentially work more on that, but with him, I just don't pick him up unless it's like an emergency. Pretty much, I just move him with a hand target or I teach him to move with me so I don't have to pick him up. Whereas the small dog, I would say she more tolerates it than like loves being picked up, but she's not as concerned about it. So I think some dogs, another example is like reactive dogs, right? Some dogs feel safer if they're scared of something being scooped up, and some dogs feel trapped. So I think it's very individual to the dog and just knowing body language so you can tell if your dog is enjoying it. And then the other thing is just being able to opt out. So if you go to pick up your dog, and I see this all the time, people go to pick up a dog and the dog is like backing away from them or like very clearly not wanting to be picked up, taking that as a sign that, oops, you don't want to be picked up right now. And if I pick you up, I'm going to give you a bad experience with being picked up.
So as you're a family pause educator as well, how do you describe to a child how to tell whether their small dog wants to be carried and picked up or not?
I think it depends on the child's age.
So we have a few members who have kids from age like 10 to 15.
So I think 10 to 15 is old enough to teach some basic body language. Like it's pretty easy to tell if the dog is physically moving away from you, right?
Yes.
So even something like that, a lot of what we teach kids is let the dog approach you versus you approaching the dog. So
yes,
if the dog isn't enthusiastically approaching you to be picked up, then take that as a no. Versus if they're just standing still or if they're backing away from you. So if the dog is coming to you, likelihood is they're comfortable versus if you going to them, even if they're not showing overt signs of discomfort, the fact that you went to them and they didn't come to you tells you something already.
I completely agree. And my kids, I have them sit down so we're not looming over. And that already helps make the dog feel more welcomed and less intimidated. And then the kids are planted, not scurrying after the pup. They are planted in one space, and then the dog, it's very clear if they're coming to them or not. And then we also do consent petting.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing to our listeners what that looks like?
Yeah. So in family pause, we call it like pet pause. So that means first of all, a dog is coming to you. So dog is approaching you. You're not approaching them a couple times. And then you're going to pause and see if the dog moves away or if they're done or if they are still there. Like my dog will nuzzle his head into you more, right?
Yes.
So the dog is enjoying it. They'll probably stay there and they'll probably show signs that they're enjoying it and that they want more. So taking that cue if they're walking away or if they're choosing to leave the situation when you pause as, oh, I'm not consenting anymore to petting.
And that's okay. I say that's okay to my kids and kids that we work with. Then they enjoy the next interaction more.
Yep.
And we are letting them know they have a voice before it's a growl, snap. So if you have clients that have small dogs and they say, for some reason, my small dog, they used to be fine, but now they're growling and snapping more when I go to pet them or scoop them up. What advice do you have for those families?
So sudden discomfort with body handling or being picked up, definitely vet check, right? We want to make sure there's no pain. I think that's something people miss a lot. They jump straight to, oh, we got to change how this dog feels about being picked up. If the dog's in pain, training isn't going to help that, right? So we want to make sure that there's no pain involved because I wouldn't want to be touched either if I was in pain. Vet check first. And then if there's nothing physically wrong with your dog, then you just want to work on, first of all, consent, not picking them up as much as possible. If picking them up is something that you feel like you really want to be able to do, working on desensitization and counter conditioning. So helping them feel comfortable with being picked up at their pace.
Yes, I completely agree. And people forget that dogs hide pain. Like they're not coming up to you and showing you like a little lip claw, like a lassie would. Yeah. Just to survive, they needed to hide. They were wounded or hurt. And they're really good at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it could even be something like their spine or something that they wouldn't necessarily be able to even show you where it hurts.
What are the most common behavioral challenges with smaller dogs, and why do you think those are there?
So I think reactivity is a big one. Reactivity obviously is not just for small dogs. Lots of bigger dogs have reactivity. But I think the reasons might be a little bit different for small dogs. I think with small dogs, sometimes we don't socialize them as much as we would with big dogs as puppies. And it could be for a good reason, fear of throwing your little tiny puppy in with a bunch of bigger puppies. That's fear. Yeah. But just people not taking their small dog and exposing them to as many things because we know that reactivity can be caused often by fear or discomfort at those things that they're reactive to, right? So having positive experiences with those things and just knowing that they're there and they're not harmful is so valuable. And I think people tend to miss that more with little dogs, especially if it's not a dog they plan to really take. I've heard that from clients before, I don't really plan to take this dog many places. They mostly hang out at home. So I'm not like that concerned about it. And that's an issue.
Yes.
So reactivity, I think reactivity also, when we were talking before about not giving small dogs a chance to opt out, I think that's something else that can cause reactivity, where a dog might be uncomfortable with something, but we're picking them up and we're carrying them, or we're just not listening to their warning signs or taking their warning signs seriously. And the dog has no choice but to escalate to reactivity just to get out of the situation.
Just to be heard.
Exactly. Yes. And I also think small dogs are more prone to bad experiences in certain situations, like in big group dog situations, daycares, dog parks. Small dogs with a bunch of big dogs, they definitely can play nicely for sure, but higher risk for, if not an injury, a scary experience. And that can cause activity. And then in terms of other behavioral issues, body handling, I think, is one. So dogs who are picked up all the time when they don't want to be picked up, they might get to a point where they're like, hey, I don't like this, and this is my breaking point, and I'm going to bite or I'm going to growl. And that's labeled like small dog syndrome a lot.
Yes.
Where you pick the dog up, or people are trying to kiss their little chihuahua and the chihuahua's growling and they think it's so funny. The chihuahua just is being a jerk just because he's a chihuahua. Whereas the chihuahua has no option. The chihuahua's tiny compared to you. So really his only option is to growl or bite to get out of that uncomfortable situations. That's definitely one of the big issues. And then house training sometimes can be a bigger issue. And I wonder if that's just because it's a smaller mess. So it's a less of a priority than a Great Dane, right?
Yes, I completely agree. Our mentor, Jean Donaldson, she talks about like the consequence for an accident, the Yorkie versus the Great Dane. One is going to really motivate you to make sure house training is on lock. And then one is this little thumbnail, little
like an
piddle.
annoyance versus a huge issue.
Yes. And so it's wondered whether or not it's their smaller bladders or if it's their breed. Is it that we don't notice the little accident, or it's just not as urgent for us to make sure that it's
unclear. It's unclear. And as not a vet,
same.
I can't speak to the smaller bladder. In my Facebook group for small dogs, there's been some discussion. It's been really interesting to get different people's perspectives on it. But I think what the issue is worth taking into consideration. If there is a medical reason they have to go out more, but overall, you're going to do the same protocol with a small dog as a big dog for house training anyway.
And they can be house trained.
Yes,
it's not. Yes. I do see more frequent pad and like paper training with small dogs when they come home. What do you advise your clients for puppy pads?
My preference is wherever you want that dog to go long term, to go to the bathroom, that's where you should be training them to go from the get-go. Some people are fine, especially if you live in a high-rise apartment or something, having a litter box or a puppy pad long term. And if that's something you're comfortable with and that's what you want to create a habit for, then go for it. It's your dog, it's your place. I think it can be a bit confusing to have multiple places for them to go, and it can slow down house training because they're still going inside. But I think it's personal preference, as long as people understand that what they're training their dogs as puppies is the habit that they're building for when they're adults.
I agree with the high-rise apartment, and can this little pup make it all the way down the elevator or your flights of stairs until you get outside? I'm a big fan of the grass patches. Your goal is just as you said. What is the long-term goal? What do you want your 10-year-old dog to be doing?
Yeah.
Are they going to be going outside, or are they going inside? And I personally find, with my experience with small dogs that come and visit with me, if they started pad trained, every soft surface inside counts as that pad. So all carpeting, my preference is to avoid it unless that's the long-term goal. So I think we're on a similar page there.
Yes. And I would say that's a case where, assuming your puppy is comfortable being picked up, that's a case where it would be a good idea to pick your dog up and carry them to the grass outside so that you don't have to on the way out.
Agree. But I am not scolding and punishing
No.
when I catch them midstream, because all that leads to is a hiding peeing dog.
Exactly.
So I do a whoop, and then we go right outside, and then I praise if I could get a little dribble
Yes.
outside and reward. But you'll see shake cans of coins or do lots of clapping and yell at them and correct them when you catch them in the house. And that just leads to a dog that's hiding behind the couch.
Yeah, that's a great way to have a dog who's scared of you and poison
Yes.
your relationship from the beginning.
Totally agree, Tess. So we're talking about some of the challenges, but little dogs are wonderful. What are some of the benefits to living with a smaller dog?
For me personally and professionally, what I see is it's more convenient, right? There's lower costs for almost everything.
Yes.
Food, medication, a lot of stuff is lower cost because there's a smaller dog.
Yeah.
And you can take them more places. So that's one benefit with socialization is you can take a small dog and just put them in a backpack and take them on the bus or take them to different places more easily. You can take them on an airplane in the cabin with you, so you don't have to worry about being underneath the airplane. So I think the convenience of being able to take them a lot of places. And I think we miss a lot of small dog positive personality traits because there's so much negativity around small dog personalities. Even people look down almost on small dog people as if they're not real dog people. And I think,
oh, that's garbage.
yeah, it's total garbage. And I just think there's so many fun, like quirky small dogs that people would really enjoy if they got to know them.
I totally agree. I hear from a lot of my clients actually that have small dogs. They told me this was going to be like a standard size golden doodle. One of our members has a Bernedoodle and they thought it would be much bigger. And she's deliciously, adorably tiny. And it happens a lot actually with doodles.
Bernedoodle.
Yes, I think I can't tell if there's Yorkie mixed in.
Yeah.
There's some Merle. She's a delicious hodgepodge. If she ever got swabbed, I would definitely want to see her embark results.
For sure.
Yes. But that happens a lot with doodles where you're told one end and when they're crossing two sizes, you can have various sizes in the same litter. But people are almost apologetic. I thought I was getting a real dog.
Yeah.
And there are so many benefits. And when the dog is older and they need to be carried, they're ill. You'll hear people that had a big lab and they're like, I'm going smaller next time. When they had a problem with their hind leg or whatever. Doodles grooming is much less expensive because it's often based on size.
Yeah.
And you're doing that every 1 to 2 months for their whole life.
Yeah. And also apartments. A lot of apartments have weight limits.
Yes.
So having a smaller dog just opens you up if you're a renter to being able to move into more places. So it opens up a lot of opportunities that having a bigger dog would be harder to find.
Totally. And now that airlines are much more strict on travel, dogs, you hear a lot of people saying to the breeder, they have to be under 20 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I need my dog to be able to travel with me.
Yeah, for sure.
That is such a benefit. When we talked earlier about fear of your dog getting trampled or bringing them out different places, having the little sling or backpack, such an advantage when you have a smaller dog. They don't have to interact with the man on the bike, the train going by. It's just that they safely know nothing bad happens there. It's positive.
Yeah, exactly. You just toss some treats in the backpack. It's all good.
Exactly. And that could start right when they come home. And if you're really worried about parvo and stuff, little dogs are really great to give positive early exposures to things.
Yeah, for sure.
To bring them everywhere. As long as we are
careful.
Yeah. And we're not just grabbing them and throwing them in and ignoring all of their cues.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
When we talk about challenges with training, I found the difference between my standard poodle and my Cavapoo. The hardest part was teaching heel while standing upright. You really got to get down there quick to reward that position.
Yeah.
I know lots of people have different tools like spatula with peanut butter and stuff. Yeah. What are your favorite tips for kind of modifying your training when working with a smaller dog?
So when I first got my dog before I was a trainer, I was told the peanut butter on the spoon right? And it's kind of, it's creative for sure.
It is.
My issue with it was always, was it realistic to carry? But because even with heel, we're rewarding a lot at the beginning, but we still want to reward intermittently as to maintain the behavior as it goes on.
Yes.
What's the solution for the spoon long term? Well, always my question.
I agree.
So what I've found is really helpful is treat tosses. So teaching your dog, and sometimes we expect a dog to know how to follow a treat that's tossed, but a lot of dogs, if you just toss a treat, you're not necessarily going to follow it automatically.
It's true.
So even just training that like you would any other behavior for your dog to follow a treat.
Yeah.
Because if you can just say yes and toss a treat for them and they know to follow that treat, you're not bending over at all. You're just tossing the treat. So that's a lot easier on your back. And I even train cues, different cues. So get it might be the cue to get a treat on the ground. And then the other thing I use more so for taller dogs, like corgi size, kind of bigger, small dogs, treat catches. So just being able to train your dog to catch a treat that you can just toss to them.
And that is a trained skill. A lot of us think, oh, my dog just doesn't know how to do that.
Yeah, a lot of dogs, if you just do it without training, they're just going to get hit in the face with a treat.
Which make the best slow-mo videos. But you mentioned earlier your Facebook group, and I am a member of it and love it. It's a really supportive community for parents of small dogs, and even some trainers join so that they can polish their skills working with small dogs. Can you tell our listeners a little about that?
Sure. So it's new. It's only about a month or two old. It's called Positive Training for Small Dogs on Facebook. And basically, it's a community for people who are force-free and either have small dogs or train small dogs so that we can talk about the best equipment for small dogs, different training methods to suit small dogs. And we talk about a lot of general training and welfare stuff in there as well. But I think it's the supportive community for people that know that they will be supported with their small dog and the challenges that come with having a small dog.
Yes. Oh, it's been a delight to be a part of it. And it's amazing how much it's taken off in just the short time since you've opened it.
Yeah. Clearly there's a need for it.
I agree. Yes. Their needs are different. And if somebody has a small dog and people talk about small dog syndrome, which I often see as on walks, like every time they see something, is that inevitable? Or is there a way to work with your dog so that they don't have that experience?
I don't think it's inevitable. I think they're positive socialization experiences as a puppy during that socialization window, 12 or 16 weeks, depending on the breed, really helps. So protecting them from having negative experiences and giving them a lot of safe, positive experiences with everything you want them to be okay with. Dogs, strangers, bikes, buses, everything, right?
Yes.
There is a genetic component. And I think a lot of small dogs, and a lot of dogs in general, come from not so desirable breeders, mental breedings, that kind of thing. And those dogs are going to be more susceptible to being a little bit less resilient. So going to a breeder that breeds small dogs that are resilient. So if they have even like a small bad experience, they're not going to crumble into a million pieces and they're going to be able to recover from that. And then also getting in and training and working with the behavior, not really an obedience issue. It's more of a fear and discomfort issue. So understanding that we need to get in and address that underlying emotion by preventing more bad experiences and working with the trainer, behavior consultant to help them feel better about the things that are triggering them and prevent them from having reactions in the first place is a good idea, because I think a lot of people see that behavior as you didn't train your. And I don't think personally reactivity to me is less of a training issue and more of a emotional issue.
Emotional safety. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And we can help that with training. It's not, I think a lot of people just assume that it's just a bad dog owner. And I don't think that's the case at all.
I agree completely. Is there anything else you want to add to our listeners before we stay on and talk to our members?
I think the biggest thing for small dogs is just making sure they have autonomy wherever we can give it to them. Giving choice to opt out of interactions, advocating for your dog, even if it's uncomfortable, if someone's holding them and you can tell the dog doesn't like it, telling that person, hey, put my dog down. They're not enjoying it. even though it's awkward, it's really going to be a big benefit to your dog to know that they can opt out of situations when they want to, because that's the biggest welfare challenge I see for little dogs. And then the other thing is meeting their needs, just like you would a big dog. I think a lot of people know that a big dog needs regular exercise. They need to go hiking. They need to do snips. They need to go on a long line. All that stuff is
Yeah.
neglected for dogs a lot of the time. So making sure that we're meeting little dogs' needs too.
Oh, I think that's fantastic advice. I see a lot of times with our littlest clients, they'll just be scooped up and taken to wherever they need to go.
Mhm.
And they don't have the leash around, which then just means we are assuming that they have no say. Like there isn't an option to put the dog down
Yeah.
if they wanted to.
Yeah.
So really being in the mindset of they have a say, I'm okay listening.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's still so prevalent that people dragging their little dog down the street. And it's so normalized that people don't think about it. But just imagining what it's like to be that dog, just constantly being forcefully dragged down the street. Like, how is your daily welfare and quality of life if that's your life?
And I think if you have a lab that just lays down, is, oof, I'm not going that direction. And you have to work with them and you work on training and you work on figuring out what's down that direction that they're uncomfortable with or what's going on. And if it's an 8-pound dog and their little paws just try to hit brakes,
Yeah.
it's so easy to override without the intention to do so.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you so much, Tess. So our member's question, she has 2 girls and their small dog has started putting teeth on them and growling and snapping with the girls. They love cuddling their dog and treat the dog like their own little doll and teddy bear.
Okay.
And he's adorable. And so you can understand why they would want to do. What would be your first things that you would talk with this family about? First steps to try?
So if, again, like we discussed earlier, if it's a sudden change of behavior, make sure there's no pain. The dog is suddenly snapping, make sure there's no pain with body handling or being picked up. If there is no pain and that's ruled out, what situations are we putting this dog in and are we setting the dog up for success? Growling, ideally, most people don't want their dog to ever growl. I don't think that's realistic. That's the dog's way of communicating, especially if they're a small dog and they can't physically move away from the situation.
Yes.
So making sure that we're respecting that the growl is not the dog being bad, that the growl is the dog saying, I'm not comfortable. And if we're putting the dog in that situation repeatedly, the dog is likely to escalate and then we might have a bite on our hands. So we don't have dogs so that we can do whatever we want with them. We have dogs so that we can be in partnership with them and live together and coexist. And so I would say, yes, you can work on helping the dog be more comfortable. But my first priority would be, how can the girls interact with the dog in a way that is enjoyable for everyone and isn't kind of one-sided where the girls are really enjoying it, but maybe the dog isn't. Because we're not training the dog not to growl. That's not necessarily our priority because we want the dog to growl. We want the dog to warn us if they're uncomfortable so that we can adjust the situation. And it's up to us to adjust the situation, not the dog.
I think that's brilliant. Thank you so much, Tess.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Doodle Pro podcast. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. And I invite you to follow me on Instagram at @TheDoodlePro for behind-the-scenes peeks at all of the adorable doodles I work with daily.